You ever live in one of those neighborhoods where there's always that one person who acts like they own the whole place? Yeah, that was Karen Whitmore. HOA president, walking rule book. The kind of person who'd measure your grass and send a violation notice if it was half an inch too tall. Now, behind our neighborhood sat this dirty, overgrown lake. It looked more like a swamp than a view. The HOA never cleaned it, never maintained it, never even mentioned it in meetings. The one time I asked if we could use it, Karen smiled and said, "The lake is for aesthetic purposes only, dear. Not for swimming. Not for fishing. Just looking." I swear that woman treated water like it was her personal reflection. Then last year my world kind of flipped. I got laid off from my job at the construction firm. Bills started stacking up, rent was due, and all I had left was time, a few tools, and a mind full of crazy ideas. That's when I looked out my back porch and saw that disgusting lake again. Only this time, I didn't see mud and mosquitoes. I saw opportunity. So I started small. I borrowed a pressure washer from my cousin, rented a dredging machine for the weekend, and called up a few friends who owed me favors. We cleared the weeds, scraped out the muck, and filled the shoreline with smooth river rocks. 3 weeks later, that dead lake looked alive again. I built a small wooden dock, set up paddle boards, and strung warm lights across the water. It looked like something out of a travel ad. The next day, I made a post on Facebook Marketplace. Private Lakeside Club, 200-day pass, BYOB, limited spots. I thought maybe 1 or 2 people would show up, but by Saturday morning, there were cars lined up down the street. Families, couples, influencers, people came ready to relax, laugh, and escape. And for the first time in months, I actually felt proud. I wasn't just scraping by, I was building something. Then came the storm. Literally. I was pouring someone a drink at the tiki bar when I heard that voice slice through the music, sharp, loud, and loaded with attitude. "What is going on here?" There she was, Karen Whitmore, HOA clipboard in one hand, phone in the other, walking down my dock like she owned the ocean. Karen, "You can't do this! This is HOA property." Me, funny because when it was full of sludge, it didn't seem to belong to anyone. Karen, "You're breaking community standards." Me, "No, Karen, I'm setting them." She stomped away, muttering something about fines and lawyers. But she didn't know one thing. That lake, it wasn't hers. It wasn't even the HOA's. It was public property, and I had just filed a permit that made me the official operator. The game had just begun. When I woke up that next Monday morning, I had 5 missed calls, 3 voicemails, and 1 email titled, "Cease and desist notice, HOA compliance violation." Yep, Karen had declared war. She didn't just send the letter, she went all in. She called the cops. She called city code enforcement. She even called the local news, telling them some reckless man had turned a peaceful community lake into a commercial nightmare. By noon, there was a camera crew outside my gate, and Karen standing proudly beside them like she'd just solved world hunger. Reporter, "Sir, the HOA claims you're illegally operating a business on community property." Me, "Ma'am, the HOA doesn't own that lake." "The city does, and I've got the permit to prove it." I held up the laminated paper like a trophy. The camera zoomed in. You should have seen Karen's face. Her smile cracked like glass. But she didn't back down. Oh no, she doubled down. The very next day, the HOA sent flyers to every house in the neighborhood. In big red letters, it said, "Boycott the Lake Club, illegal business, unsafe conditions." I watched from my porch as she went door to door, passing them out like Halloween candy. Some neighbors waved, some avoided eye contact. A few even whispered when I walked by. That hurt. I wasn't trying to hurt anyone, I was just trying to survive. But life's funny like that. When people try to bury you, they forget you're a seed. That Friday, a couple of college kids who'd visited the lake made a TikTok about it. Slow motion, drone shots, sunset reflections, and a caption that read, "200 for peace in paradise. Totally worth it." By Saturday morning, the video had over 2 million views. Now, people weren't avoiding me, they were booking me. Every spot for the next 2 weeks was sold out. Even a few locals who used to whisper started showing up like nothing had happened. Karen lost it. She started showing up at the lake every single day, taking pictures, measuring fences, even filming my guests. Karen, "You're violating HOA noise ordinances." Me, Noise ordinances end at 10 p.m. It's 8:47. Karen, want me to set you a timer? One afternoon, she brought 2 police officers. They checked my permits, looked at the property lines, and finally one of them turned to her and said, "Officer, ma'am, he's in the clear. This isn't HOA property." The silence that followed? Legendary. Karen's face turned red, then purple. She stomped away, muttering, "This isn't over." And she was right. Because the next morning I got a letter. Not from her. Not from the HOA, but from City Hall itself. Apparently, someone had filed a formal complaint with zoning and environmental control. The letter said, "You are required to appear before the City Council regarding unauthorized commercial use of natural waterway." That's when I realized Karen wasn't done fighting. She was just getting started. The day of the hearing felt like a courtroom drama straight out of TV. City Hall was packed. Neighbors, news crews, even people from other towns came to see what all the noise was about. Karen sat in the front row, arms crossed, that smug little smile plastered on her face. She looked like someone who'd already written the victory speed in her head. When my name was called, I stood before the council with my folder full of permits, photos, and community testimonials. My heart was pounding. Council Chair, Mr. Walker, you've been accused of operating a commercial enterprise on a public lake without proper authorization. What do you have to say for yourself? I took a deep breath and looked at the crowd. Me. For years, that lake was a dump. It was unsafe, neglected, and no one cared. I didn't build a business to break laws. I built it to bring life back to something we'd all forgotten. I cleaned it, restored it, and created a place where families could come together. And yes, I charged money, because hard work and maintenance don't come free. But the city didn't lose anything. The community gained everything. You could feel the room shift. Some people nodded. A few even clapped quietly. Then Karen stood up, voice dripping with anger. "Karen, he's exploiting public property for profit. This isn't about community, it's about greed." I turned to her, calm but firm. Me. "Karen, you had years to do something about that lake. Years. You could have led a cleanup. You could have organized events. But you didn't. You just complained. The truth is, you didn't care until someone else did something." A murmur rippled through the crowd. Even a few of her HOA board members looked away. After a long pause, the council chair cleared his throat. Council Chair, "Mr. Walker, your permits are valid, but we'll need you to share a portion of profits toward community maintenance." Me. "Done gladly." They stamped the papers. Official, legal, mine. Karen stood frozen. For the first time, she had nothing to say. As I walked out of City Hall, a few neighbors patted my back. One elderly man said, "You did what we all wanted to do. You stood up to her." That night, as the sun set over the lake, the lights reflected off the water like 1,000 tiny stars. People laughed, music played, and for the first time, I didn't feel like I was running a business. I felt like I'd built something that mattered. Karen stopped showing up after that. She still sent the occasional email, but the neighborhood had changed. People had started helping, planting flowers, cleaning paths, even volunteering to host free events by the water. Sometimes the only way to break control is to build something stronger than fear. Lesson? Don't let anyone tell you that you can't make something beautiful out of what they've thrown away. Call to action. If someone tries to shut down your dream, let them watch you build it higher.